Welcome to the Flow Podcast, fearlessly leading our way. This podcast is a space dedicated to spotlighting the unfiltered voices of Black women in their unique leadership journeys. I am your host, Angela V. Harris. I'm an award-winning coach, speaker, author, and champion for Black women. Make sure you like and subscribe to this podcast to stay connected to our conversations. Let's get ready to flow. Hey, fearless leaders, welcome back to another episode of the Flow Podcast. I'm your host, Angela V. Harris. In today's episode, I'm joined by Elizabeth McCoy, a licensed therapist, Army veteran, and founder of Your Space to Heal, for a bold, necessary conversation about breaking free from burnout, generational expectations, and the myth of the strong Black woman. Elizabeth keeps it all the way real about the dangers of hustle culture, the emotional toll of living in survival mode, and why Black women must stop settling for struggle and start choosing joy. We talk about how trauma shows up in everyday life, the powers of boundaries, and why rest isn't a reward, it's a requirement. If you've ever felt like slowing down means falling behind, this episode is your permission slip to stop grinding and start healing. I can't wait for you. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much for having me, Angela.
Well, I'm looking forward to our discussion. I know it's April and that's Stress Awareness Month.
Absolutely.
Well, I know, Elizabeth, you're a licensed therapist, an Army veteran, and the founder of Your Space to Heal and the Luxury Recharge Collective. What led you to become an advocate for high-powered Black women?
So, what led me on the journey was just my own personal experience. As Black women, we learn so much about what it means to be a Black woman just through lived experience, because oftentimes those experiences are not highlighted elsewhere. And so, just understanding when I was going through my own stressors. I wasn't working in corporate America, but I was working for local government, and things had just gotten extremely stressful. And how do you manage, and what resources are out there, what support was out there? And the support that was out there, I wasn't very pleased with it. So as I transitioned into mental health, that is just so happens to be the population that has trusted me the most. When I think about most of my clientele on the therapy side, they're high power women, multiple hats, multi hyphenated, whether they're employee or entrepreneur or partner or parent or whatever. And so, just really making sure that there was a place for them to land, a place for them to heal.
Yeah. And what you said makes sense. I feel like so many of us that are called to do this type of work, it's a result of things that, we've experienced personally and just seeing a need or a gap, in the
Mhm.
industry and being the person to fill that gap.
Absolutely. I mean, there's just so many gaps with our care in general. And so, I'm very glad to see that we're in a time where we are stepping up and we're filling those gaps. We're not waiting on other people anymore to say, I would just wish they would do that. Or,
Mhm.
if only, there's some sister somewhere making it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. If not you, then who?
Exactly. Exactly.
So what does rest look like for you right now, and how has your relationship with rest changed over the years?
Oh, my relationship with the rest is that we're actually on a first name basis now. It used to be that I did not want to rest. I used to be, just like all of us, there's too much to do in a day and there is not enough time. And so rest would be that sacrifice. And at a
Mhm.
time where it was so foreign to me, is a time where I experienced the most somatic um, wake up call. And so, as a therapist, what I tell people is that if you ignore the mental symptom long enough, it'll show up in your body.
Oh
And that's
yeah.
what happened to me, where I literally was not functioning. My body could not function. Um, and so I had to start to shift how I viewed rest and actually started to make rest as part of my success rather than my enemy. And so that's
Mm,
why I say that now rest and I, we are on a first name basis.
mm,
I have time in my day where I take a nap. If
mm,
I'm not sleepy, then I'll just lay on the couch and just kind of rest. I'm comfortable stepping away from my cell phone. Just any of the things that incorporate rest for me. It's not just a nice video on IG or a nice inspiration on TikTok. I mean, I really make it a lived experience.
mm, mhm. And I love what you said that you make time to find a nap, throughout the day. I love to hear more about that, but also that you take time to put your cell phone down. Like you said, oftentimes we think we are resting when we're, like you said, vegging out on, TikTok, Instagram, the inspirational posts. But I recall seeing, I think it was like a TED talk, I believe, about the 7 types of rest. And we're
Yes.
not, if we are on our devices, that's not rest.
We're probably not getting deep enough in it. Now, it is a type of rest to just, kind of let your mind float away. And that's what people use a lot of social media for, is to just distract us from reality. But knowing what type of rest you need is going to be very important. Because
Hmm.
again, there are 7 different types. So it's
Yeah.
not just sleep. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because people think that rest is just taking a nap, that it's just going to sleep.
Hmm.
But it is literally a restful state of your body. It's really being able to get into those depths, into those nooks and crannies, like when we would
Hmm.
clean on a Saturday morning, getting down,
Yeah.
getting in the elbow grease. We got to get in there, and that's where the true rest is found. So that sometimes it might be scrolling for a few minutes on your phone. We want to break away from that. But we just have to get, I guess, comfortable. We got to get familiar with this actually
Mhm.
deep restorative rest.
Mm, mhm. And I feel like culturally, some of us have been socialized. When we think about our elders, they always say, "Oh, you can sleep when you're dead." So, what can Black women do if they're still stuck in that hustle and grind mindset that's been passed down generation over generation?
We are very intelligent women now. And not to say that we weren't back then, because, our loved ones were definitely some smart women for, the times they were in. But we also are aware of what the lack of rest got them. And there's
Mm,
actually a social media post I was working on today about, don't repeat the mistakes of our past.
mm,
we
that
saw
part.
we saw our grandmothers, our mothers, our aunties, our primary caregivers need rest but never take it. And as a result, they retired. They weren't enjoying life. They didn't enjoy their career. Sometimes we even felt like they didn't enjoy their family.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to, well, what did fill in the blank really need? And it was some form of rest, some form of rest that was not weaponized against her love, that said, oh, well, she must doesn't love me if this is what she needs to do, but to just understand that she's a person and she had needs. And so we learn from those things now, and we ensure that, that we get those for ourselves. One, to take care of us in the present, but also to let them know that we see them. We saw
Mm,
what they sacrificed, and what those sacrifices meant.
yeah. And I love what you said about don't repeat the mistakes of our past. And it's like you highlighted how that they were tired, they didn't enjoy life. And I feel like when you say that, it's like we currently have the opportunity to change the narrative and shift the narrative for future
Mhm.
generations.
Absolutely. And just understanding what it means, like, what do you get from rest? You know, as a high performance therapist, future psychologist, toot my own horn. One thing I study is how rest actually impacts our outcomes. So, how can I be more successful? And I tell people to think about the CEO's breakdown. Yes, we think that they work a lot of hours, and likely they do, but they also have a team that's going to help them. And so when we talk about maximizing your time, being efficient, tending to your needs, we have to be the CEOs of our lives and making
Mhm.
sure that we have those structures in place that are going to support our success rather than just kind of crash and burn. And let me add that as well, because, it just kind of dawned on me that that's why we're so afraid of rest. Is that every time rest has come in the picture, it's been like a crash. And
Yeah.
we just hit a brick wall. But that's
Yeah.
not rest. That's not the rest that we're talking about. We're talking about being very intentional with
Mhm.
today, this is all that I need. This is all that I'm going to do. This is good enough. I don't have to save the whole world. I don't have to cook a 5-course meal. I can cook
Mhm.
this pot of spaghetti and y'all are going to be happy. And this is going to be sufficient. You know,
Right.
we are really redefining our relationship.
And to your point about we can cook the pot of spaghetti and be satisfied. Like we don't really have to cook at all. We can do meal prep services or hire somebody to
Ab-
do it for us, which will give us the extra time to rest.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things I do in my Rest is Wealth workshop, and then the upcoming conference, is that we'll do what's called a rest plan, and we'll identify where are some of these energy drainers, like where are we just kind of being drained, and we can actually pull in additional resources.
Yeah.
Now, what I always tell people when we're going into these rest plans is be mindful that this is going to challenge some of our culturally, um, what do we call them? Just like our cultural expectations, where again, we tire ourselves out and we never sit down. This rest plan is going to challenge that. And so
Yeah.
sometimes it can be very difficult to complete it. As simple as it may be, it's challenging because again, I have to say sometimes that grandma wasn't right about this. Mama didn't exactly have this right. I wish that she knew this now. And that can be a lot for us.
And those are the uncomfortable conversations, the taboo topics within our community.
Absolutely. But we have to have them. We need them.
Yes, we do. We do. Like you said, it's really on us to shift the narrative. And like you said, we have to be intentional about prioritizing rest, or the end result is that crash and burn or worse.
Hmm. Absolutely. Because listen, hospital stays are a thing. Stressed
I
and
mean, yes, even more than that, like chronic, illnesses and conditions.
yeah, and that's exactly where I was going with it. Because all of it comes as a result of stress,
Yeah.
you know?
And I know that symptoms look different for Black women, specifically high achievers. I'm just thinking about myself back in 2022. I was diagnosed with work related depression, anxiety, and PTSD. And it came as a complete shock to me because I knew it was taking me a little bit longer, to get out of bed in the morning, but I was still getting out of bed. I was showering, I was putting on clothes. So it didn't even dawn on me that that was, a sign of depression. Thankfully,
Hmm.
I did have a therapist at the time. So she noticed that, the coping strategies that she was sharing with me weren't working. But I say all that to say, I feel like I was doing everything. I thought I had a self-care plan. I had facials, massages, time with friends and things of that nature. But it still wasn't good enough, to save me from the mental health issues.
Yeah. And that's what I call social media self-care. People will
Mm,
go on TikTok and say, well, I've seen this on TikTok and this is what they said that I needed to do. And so that's what I've been doing, but it's not working. And if that's not
yeah.
working, then I must not need a therapist or something else. I'm beyond what a therapist can do. And, you hit on something very important, is that everybody's treatment plan looks different. And
Mhm.
our self care, not just the social media stuff, is going to differ based on where we are. And I always remind my clients that to whom much is given, much is required. But what's going to be required is proper rest and self care. And so the bubble baths, the massages, those things are great and they really feel good. But when it comes down to actually physically taking care of yourself, do we need to adjust our diets? Do we need to adjust our workouts? Do we need to, of course, adjust our rest patterns? Take additional time off. Take the vacation days and actually
Mhm.
vacation. Get your PTO, whether you are an employee or entrepreneur. You have to have your PTO days. You have to put those days in, take those days so that you can actually restore yourself because the bubble baths are not going to do it by themselves.
Yeah.
Sometimes we got to journal things out. Sometimes we just have to put different things in our bodies so that we can get a different output. Sometimes we actually just need to take the weekend and just sleep. But taking off those capes and really saying, this is what I need to restore myself.
Mhm. So how can Black women begin to recognize the early signs before it becomes a crisis?
Well, it's kind of like what you and your therapist did, noticing when things are not the same. I'm taking longer to get dressed. Like, I'm okay when I get there, but I really don't want to get there. Um, I'm missing deadlines. I feel like I care about my job, but my work doesn't reflect that. My attitude towards it doesn't reflect it. Or I just feel more irritable.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what somebody asks me, big, small, indifferent. I don't want to be bothered. Those are some very telltale signs that overall I'm just not doing well. And more than anything, where we start to disconnect from our own joy. So
Mm.
whatever it is that we like to do, it becomes a chore. I used to like to go and get my nails done. Now thinking about going to the nail shop is overwhelming. We probably want to start getting this checked out. Coupled with work, coupled with how I'm handling family and friends, social time, how I'm handling mealtime.
Mm.
It all tells a story. So just noticing those changes.
Okay. Well, for the Black woman listening who feel like they're running on fumes or like you said, don't feel like they have the time, what's one small shift that they can make to choose rest over hustle?
Schedule it. You have every other meeting on your calendar, but we never schedule ourselves on there. Schedule the time for you, whether it is time to take a walk, whether it is time to take a nap, whether it's just time to close your eyes or not answer questions from people. Schedule the time every single day.
Mm. How can we get them to hold themselves accountable, even feel like they're worthy of doing that? Because they might be wives, mothers, children, things of that nature. So they may feel like they have to put their needs to the side for their family or other people.
Yeah. And it's a very good question. It's one that's asked all the time. But you can only provide the level of care to others that you provide to yourself. So, in order to be your best version, we're going to have to do these things for us. We will have to slow down and say, well, baby, I can't do that right now. In 30 minutes, I can. And
Mhm.
if they come back before the 30 minutes, has it been 30 minutes? Boundaries are a thing. And
Yeah.
believe it or not, my women with children understand boundaries. How many times have we been told no by a kid? No, I don't want to go over there. No, I don't want to go to sleep. No, I don't want to eat my vegetables. Those are all forms of boundaries. They understand what we're able to teach them.
Mm.
And and being patient, which can be hard if we're already kind of tipping over, but being patient and reminding them, that this is where the boundary is. Setting timers for the younger ones or for the older ones who are just distracted or our spouses. When this timer goes off, then I'll be ready to talk.
Mm.
If the timer hasn't gone off, I need my time. We have to get better at showing people that we are human.
Yeah.
When I've worked with women on mother daughter wounds or mother caregiver wounds, a lot of it came back to I never even thought about her being a person.
Mm. Wow.
Like, you're just there
Wow.
to meet my needs. You brought me here, and now you are forever indebted to me. Typically
Mhm.
goes on both sides, but it's a tough spot to be in. And so no, we can take a break. I need to rest my head. I need not have any questions for 30 minutes. I need to just go and sit in the shower, tub, or whatever the preference. I just need quiet. But the thing about boundaries is that when they were enforced when we were younger, it was from a place of irritability.
Yeah.
And wherever we're starting to feel irritable, we feel like we don't have a whole lot of control. So now we're saying, no, this is my time and I am not to be interrupted. And it takes some time to do. The mom guilt will go away. The challenges to your identity. Well, if I'm a fill in the blank on what cap, then that means I have to neglect myself this way. We'll start to
Mm.
challenge those thoughts over time because that's
Mhm.
exactly what it's saying. Is that if I want to uphold this role, this is how I must neglect me. And
Mhm.
when I have clients say and do that exercise, things kind of shift a little bit. You start to shift.
I love the point you made about challenging those thoughts about the societal, expectations of what the role
Mhm.
should look like.
Yeah, we have to, because otherwise society and others around us will dictate our quality of life. But
Mhm.
one thing I've been certain of is that when other people are dictating our lives, the quality is not matched well. It's just not.
So key takeaway, like you say, have your boundaries and essentially teach people how to treat you by enforcing those boundaries.
Mhm. Absolutely. And enforcing them not from a place of irritability or anger, but from a place of peace and calm.
Mhm.
That I have control over who can access me and when.
So I'm curious, Elizabeth, based on the work that you've done with your clients and having them shift their mindsets regarding
Mhm.
rest, what's been, I guess, like the biggest aha moment for one of your clients?
That they can, that it is literally possible. It is literally possible. I've had so many women tell me, oh, well, I can't set boundaries with my children. I can't set boundaries with my spouse. My employer won't understand that I need more days off. But this is why we don't need a permission slip. We don't need it. I can take care of me however it is that I need to take care of me. And if this environment is not allowing me to do so, then I got to shift some things up. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not saying leave the kids at home. don't 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 take the words away. And say what Elizabeth said, because that's what I always tell my clients, to just tell their people what Elizabeth said, my therapist said. Um, but no, we're not talking about, abandoning anybody or anything that far-fetched. We are literally just saying that I have needs. Some of the needs I'm going to need you to meet, helping me with the house, respecting the boundary that I set down. Other needs is going to be on me to meet.
Mhm.
Saying, telling you that I need this time and that this is what I need this time to look like so that I can be the best version of me. Because I don't know one woman, especially any Black woman, who's wanted to be upset, irritable, angry, not able to enjoy life.
Right.
But we just didn't know that there were other things that we could do, that we didn't have to live up to these imaginary goalposts that didn't really exist. It was a forever moving goal. And so, we can define this is where I'm going.
Mhm.
So I can, I will, and I do.
Mm. Doesn't get any better than that. I can, I will, and I do.
Mm-mm. And then we just pick up our bag and go on. Grab your pocketbook. That's it.
Well, Elizabeth, I want to switch things up a bit and move into a quick lightning round. So I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions, and the first thing that comes to your mind is what it is.
Oh, and you know my mind is not working as great today. But okay, let's see.
Right, here we go.
Okay.
Rest is
Restorative.
my body lets me know when I need to rest when.
She's tired. She doesn't want to carry anything else.
One myth about rest I'm done entertaining is.
That I need any form of permission or that I need to
Mm,
explain it.
I love that. A
Yeah.
boundary I no longer negotiate is.
Ooh, anything that's dealing with me. I'm not up for negotiation on any level with anybody.
Mm, I love that. When do you feel most alive?
When I am happy to come to work on Mondays. You know, a lot of panic attacks happen on Sundays, and I was one of those people where I would panic about Monday.
Mm,
And now, actually looking forward to and being able to say about noon on Sunday, like I'm ready for work tomorrow. I'm excited.
yeah,
Yeah,
I can relate to that.
and let me throw in actually making it to all of my workouts that week.
Okay.
So again, because when things change, we need to pay attention to the change, and that was one of my biggest red flags was if I wasn't keeping up with my workouts or I wasn't excited about work.
Hmm. So now I'm curious, what's in your workout routine?
My workout routine right now, I'm at 30 minutes, 30 to 40-minute days, 5 to 6 times a week. They consist of any combination of weightlifting. I have to get better with the cardio per the doctor, but I'm a weightlifting girly. I like my weights, cardio. We're just not the best of, we're working on it. And then I am also trying to incorporate something called animal flow at
Mm,
least once a week because, you know, I sit a lot during the day. That 40 is looking at me in the mirror very closely. And you know, your joints in your body really do they do different things. And so the animal flow, I feel like it helps keep me limber, it helps keep me flexible. You know, some of the aches and pains that I feel, you know, it all just kind of starts working out. So I don't need to be superwoman like I was when I was in the military or what I tried to be when I was in the military. And so, yeah, just listening to my body and paying attention to what it needs and giving it that.
did you say animal flow? I'm not familiar with that.
Mm-hmm. So animal flow is if you think about when you go to the zoo and you watch how different animals move, that's animal flow.
Hmm.
So the deep-seated positions that we might see some variations of monkeys in is a very real
Hmm.
thing. We need to be able to
Okay.
get down there. The crab walks,
Okay.
be able to go from a crab to a scorpion is always important, and just really moving your body through tight, kind of small spaces. You know, your body plane is the plane that you'll move in the through these different positions, through these different animal flows. So it's literally just moving around like an animal. You
Okay.
know, bear crawls, scorpions,
Got it. Okay.
all of
Okay.
it.
Okay.
And it's great to do with the kids too.
Well, Elizabeth, before we wrap up, I have one question I like to ask all of my guests, and it's very fitting for you. So, what do you like to do when you aren't fearlessly leading?
Ah, I like to, of course, work out. As I am in the building phase of this of Luxury Recharge Collective and everything that stands for, I'm actually missing cooking. I'm a
Mm,
Southern girl. I really like to cook. I cook from scratch, all of those things. And I'm really missing it. I just told my friends and my mother yesterday, that I'm really missing cooking. I was excited, when I was coming into this journey and told them like, hey, this is where I'm going. This is the type of support that I need. Are y'all game for it? Because this is what I'm gonna need. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, oh yes, I won't have to worry about cooking. And then look at me, missing it.
Okay.
Ready to get out of this space so I can get back to it. And then just spending time with other people's kids because I don't have my own. So spending time with the trillion nieces and nephews that I've adopted along the way, and
Mhm.
and my dogs. Just keep things kind of low key.
Okay. So, since you mentioned cooking, I have to ask, what's the one dish you can't wait to make?
Um, Everybody likes my pepper jack mac and cheese.
Okay.
Yeah, my pepper jack mac and cheese, and my neighbors are my lifeline. And so the husband likes my pork chops, my fried pork chops, and the wife likes my candy yams.
Mm,
So that'll probably be up on the meal, on the menu. I got
that sounds delicious.
I gotta be able to say thank you to the people that hold me down. So
Nice. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. How can our listeners stay connected with you and join your Space to Heal or the Luxury Recharge Collective?
yeah, so please follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Your Space to Heal. You can also connect with me um, through those platforms and engage in any of my activities. Every month I am doing a series on rest is wealth so that we start to see how rest is actually part of our success plan and it doesn't become so foreign. And we get rid of this burnout culture, this
Mm,
hustle culture where we literally have to beat ourselves down in order to have a few dollars. And then this
yeah.
summer, I am hosting my first retreat that is being named, it's Rest is Wealth as well, but it's Black, Rested, and Rising to
Mm,
celebrate all the powerful things that we do as Black women and really bringing together some other powerhouses that I know personally for a weekend of not only information about how do you get this rest and the significance of it, but also actual time to rest. So a full white glove experience. I've been telling my team the only thing I want my people to do is to show up with their toothbrush and whatever change of clothes that they need. That is it. If they have to do more than that, then we
mm,
have some more planning to do.
mm.
So I'm really looking forward to talking more about rest as well throughout the months, but then creating such a luxurious space for Black women. The ones who don't have anybody else, we're already at the top of the chain.
Yeah.
The CEOs, the executives, the entrepreneurs who are just feel so isolated. Like this space is for us to be vulnerable, to be real, to be true, and to leave rested.
That sounds amazing. And I love the name Black Rested and Rising.
Yes, because that's what we are. We always say we're gonna stay Black. And now we've added in the resting piece, and we're going to incorporate this as part of our strategy, in order to keep rising and keep being successful. So I absolutely cannot wait. I'm so excited, nervous too, but so excited to actually host this and really just have a space where I get to tell Black women, thank you, I see you, and we're
Mm,
here and we can take the capes off and we're going to have us a good old time.
good. That's so needed. I'm wishing you much success with that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again, Elizabeth, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
All right. Well, to our listeners, if you found today's episode valuable, please stay connected with Elizabeth and leave us a review. Until next time, take care. Thank you for listening to the Flow Podcast. As we wrap up today's episode, always remember your unique path, your voice, and your leadership matter. If you loved what you heard, subscribe now to stay updated on our latest episodes. Take a moment to leave a review and share this episode with someone who can benefit from these conversations. You can stay connected with me on Instagram at The Flow Podcast with Angela, or visit me on the web at angelavharris.com. Until next time, take care, stay inspired, and keep fearlessly leading in your own way.